I have a new Patreon request from Steven, who wanted me to review the Adam Sandler comedy, The Ridiculous Six. This is the first of what would be many movies Sandler produced and starred in for Netflix, and I actually saw this movie back when it premiered on the streaming service. I did not care for it, and watching it a second time, my opinion stays about the same. Although what struck me is how little I actually remembered from my initial viewing. It really was a movie that went in one ear and out the other. The thing that surprises me is I recall The Ridiculous Six being a lot more vulgar. Oh, there's certainly your fair share of crude jokes scattered throughout the movie. We have a donkey with a terrible diarrhea problem, a scene where a man removes an eyeball from his socket, and Native American women given sexist names. However, the humor is mostly kept at a second-grade level, and the gags are more based on the Western setting. This is fairly safe PG-13 material, so I guess I should give Sandler credit for not going too overboard upon given the opportunity to move to a streamer where he is not beholden to the rating system. I just wish I found the actual material funnier, because I did not think the jokes had much wit or cleverness to them. One of the main problems is that the characters are fairly one-note. I'm not asking for deep characterizations in a silly comedy, but it would have helped the movie if they had a bit more personality. Sandler plays a man raised by an Apache tribe, and he sticks to the same stoic expression and method of speaking through the entire runtime, and I'm not entirely sure what the joke is. Meanwhile, Rob Schneider plays a Mexican stereotype, Taylor Lautner's character is portrayed as not very bright, and Terry Crews is there. It's hard to create jokes when the personalities on screen are this flat and one-dimensional. That leads to my other major issue with The Ridiculous Six. It runs 2 hours long. To put that in perspective, Blazing Saddles is only 95 minutes. Wild Wild West is a shorter movie than The Ridiculous Six. There's a lot of padding and filler in this film, with a good amount that could have easily been snipped out. I like Will Forte, but that whole subplot with his gang really was not needed. The whole movie plods along at a lethargic pace as we go from one unsuccessful set piece to the next. I will admit there is one mildly amusing scene though, which is why it's one of the few moments I did distinctly remember from my first viewing. John Turturro has a cameo as Abner Doubleday, who keeps changing and making up the rules of baseball however he sees fit. That's actually quite a clever setup, and I did chuckle the ways in which Doubleday would attempt to shift the game to his favor. It's like an SNL sketch that is dropped into the middle of the movie, but then after 5 minutes, it's over and we go back to the boring plot. The movie throws in a bunch of other cameos too. Sadly, despite the talent at their disposal, they're not given the best material. Steve Buscemi shows up to portray a terrible barber/doctor, although he mostly spouts exposition and sticks his finger everywhere. David Spade plays General Custer, and I will admit he does look like the real Custer in that mustache and uniform. They just don't give him anything to do. Chris Parnell and John Lovitz are in this movie. Those two are always funny. Except here, apparently. They also have Chris Kattan appear very briefly as John Wilkes Booth, although I confess I mistook him for Jimmy Fallon. Oh, and Vanilla Ice plays Mark Twain, the joke being that Vanilla Ice plays Mark Twain. As you can see, I did not find much amusement in The Ridiculous Six on either viewing. I know people accuse Adam Sandler of being lazy and that he needs to quit with the stupid comedies, but I actually like where Sandler's career is right now. With these Netflix movies, he's free to do whatever he wants, and he clearly enjoys making these silly comedies, as he stars in them every year. However, he's also doing more of the serious roles critics always plead him to do. He was in Noah Baumbach's The Meyerowitz Stories a few years ago, and recently starred in Uncut Gems. He was great in both of those, continuing to prove his dramatic chops. And he's the voice of Dracula in the Hotel Transylvania movies, which I find to be highly enjoyable. He even did a stand-up special recently. Adam Sandler is probably busier now than he's ever been, and if he's happy and having fun making the likes of The Ridiculous Six, well, who am I to complain? If you've seen The Ridiculous Six on Netflix, let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and thank you for the request, Stephen.